Hey y'all, so I am in my office today and I wanted to make a quick video about how you can get a doctoral degree. That's right, a doctoral degree, a PhD, a EDD, how you can get these degrees for free because I'm doing it and I want you to do it too. But before I get started, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. So actually in 2019, I was finishing up my master's degree in counselor education, and I was working as a vocational rehabilitation counselor, and I wanted to kind of get out of my state. I was in Florida at the time, and I wanted to see like what else was out there. And I had already made the decision that I wanted to get my doctoral degree. So I had actually made that decision like some time ago as I was teaching. I'm like, I think I want to get one last degree and really put a nice, pretty doctoral bow on my education. And I decided that, and I had already made the decision that I'm not taking out any student loans. I was already in student loan debt at the time. And I had gotten my master's degree for free. So I'm like, okay, I got this thing for free. I know there's other options out there for me to get a doctoral degree for free too. Why wouldn't it be? And I was like, I really want to get back into education. I really wanted to get into higher education. So I like being on the college campus. I like the feel. I like the vibe. It was where I had spent like the last 6 years. So I was like, I really want to get into the field of higher education. And I wasn't quite sure at the moment, but I felt like there would be some type of perk to working there and getting educational assistance. So back in 2019, I actually was either going to get back into the classroom as a teacher at a federal prison in Arizona. I actually had gotten that job and was starting the paperwork process. But I really wanted to get into higher education, and I wanted to work in student disability services because that was where most of my experience had been. And I was really, looking forward to getting my feet wet with that. I had several interviews, but hadn't landed anything. And then eventually I had an interview at a university, and I ended up getting the job. So I told the federal prison job, sorry, can't take this. Your girl's gonna head to Texas. And that's where I, was able to really get into higher education and see all of the perks that were available, especially for those of us who want to pursue or who are pursuing higher education goals. There are a few options that you have to get your degree for free. So I talked about me working in higher education, which I'll go into that a little more, but working in higher education or working at an educational organization that is providing, some type of education, classes, degrees, things like that. There are fellowships as well. So fellowships are typically you are assisting within the program that you're getting your degree in, and as a result they pay you a stipend to live, and they pay for your education. And then of course there's scholarships as well. So I hear so many people saying there are not any scholarships for doctoral students. Oh, that's just not a thing. That's not true, because I just got a refund from all of my scholarships in the fall 2020 for close to $1,000, and that was a refund from all of the scholarships that I had. So yes, scholarships are a thing for higher education. You do have to look for them, right? Because doctoral degrees, master's degrees, post-graduation degrees are more competitive. How I found most of my scholarships were through endowed scholarships with the university. So if you don't know this, write this down. Most universities, I'm going to say all, have an endowment fund where there are people who pay into this fund, for charity efforts or, for their family legacies. Basically, they give money to the university to give as scholarships to students. And there are a lot for our graduate students, for masters, for doctoral, but you do have to apply for these things. Most of the time, you do have to have accumulated a certain amount of credits And you do have to have, at least a 3.0. Not all of them have the GPA requirements, but as you know, once you get into graduate work, you have to keep your GPA. I believe you have to keep it at a 3.0. Like C's are not an option within graduate degrees, or you may have to take the course over. So I was able to get lots of money in scholarships from the endowment here at my university, and I know it's at your university too. You may have to contact financial aid to say, hey, is there an endowment fund that I could apply for? So start there. Oh, and here is another just tip about fellowships. So I wanted to add this in. Fellowships are competitive. They typically only have a few spots open. There may only be certain ones at certain universities. So if you're looking for a fellowship, you definitely want to contact the graduate coordinator and ask them, hey, what fellowships are available that I could participate in to where my schooling could be covered and I could receive a living stipend. So that's how you go about getting more information regarding fellowships. Now, when I first started here at the university, I got a $1,600 stipend to pay for 2 courses. So it only paid for up to 2 courses, and then I had to pay fees. So the fees were very expensive too, y'all. They were more than the courses, but my coursework was taken care of, so I was able to take care of the fees. The first semester I had to pay those out of pocket, so that sucked. But the second semester, I was able to meet the deadline to apply for scholarships, and that's when I started to get extra money towards my schooling. So I had the $1,600 from being an employee here at the university, and then through my endowment scholarships, I would probably get I think the most that I got, because they break it down per semester, so the most that I got was like $600 a semester, $1,200 for the full year. So that was nice to get. But there were also other grants that I didn't even know about, but I learned just by asking questions. And one of them was there was a $500 grant for folks who work at community colleges. Like, who would have ever thought that? And at the time, I had just gotten a part-time job at the local community college, tutoring our trio students. So I was able to get that $500 for that. And then I think I received something called a property grant, but that was another $500. So there was, just money kind of hanging around out there that I was able to piece together to where I received a refund at the end. So that's another thing too. Please don't be discouraged about not registering for scholarships because, it's only $200, it's only $50. That $50, that $200, those things add up, and you're not supposed to just apply for one. Imagine if you applied for one $100 scholarship, you got that, you did another one for $250, you got that, and then you got one for $500. Okay, that's $500, $600, $750, that's $800. So that's the key. I noticed that sometimes so many people get discouraged because, that's not enough money, it's not going to do anything. Hey, you're supposed to apply for more than one, and all dollars count, okay? Now, just this last spring 2022, here's where things got really, really, really good for me. Our university decided to start covering doctoral degrees at 100%. So that means that they pay for tuition and fees. So those scholarships that I had racked up, now instead of those scholarships going to pay off my fees, they started coming to me. And if you've been watching my channel, you know that I use that to pay off my debt. So that is something, that recently happened for me. It's only been a year, but now my degree is covered at 100%. So if you want to get a free doctoral degree, PhD or EDD, I'm getting an EDD, I would recommend that you work somewhere where they are going to cover it. So typically that is at the university. So you definitely want to work somewhere where they're going to cover the type of degree that you want. So if you're at the community college and you want a PhD, they most likely don't have that program. So that means that, you know, you want to try to transition into something where they are going to cover the exact degree that you want. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm not, you know, one for the reimbursement, you know, for the tuition where you pay it first and then they reimburse you back. That's a good thing, no problems there. But the educational benefit that I have is that they pay it all together up front. So I don't have to give anything out of pocket. So for anybody who's watching this right now and you want to get that PhD, you want to get that EDD, start thinking of ways that you can transition into an organization that's going to cover that cost. So, and it's not necessarily just at the university level. There are other, you know, Fortune 500 companies, you know, tech companies that are paying folks to go to school for free. So that's something for you to think about as well. And I can remember just I guess it was like an event that I was in, and there's a lady there, and she was talking, and she was saying how she worked at a bank, and that bank actually paid for her to get her PhD. So don't think that, oh, I'm not in education, I ain't trying to get an education. Trust me, I understand. Education is not the only place that you can get a free degree in. But of course, these are things that you're going to have to research. I want to add a tidbit for my folks who want to get in higher education, but they may be having a hard time. So as you know, if you've been watching my channel, I have been in education for about 10 years now. So I'm coming up on like 10, 11 years. I'm kind of in that area. So my background is in education. So I'm an educator by trade. It's something that I love to do. But I was in K through 12 education for a good portion of that time. And I found it difficult for me to make the transition into higher education because they didn't see that on my resume. So I would say, of course, transferable skills are a thing, but make sure you know that your resume really highlights those important topics that are going to be important within higher education. So do you do presentations? Are you able to facilitate workshops? Do you have some type of information, you know, regarding the different law changes within the education setting that you're currently in, based versus the one that you want to get in? You know, how does that look on your resume? I think for me also, you know, what really helped me to get into higher education was that I really had a passion for it, and that showed on my resume. So you may have to kind of look at your resume. You may have to ask somebody who's already in higher education. So that was one thing that I did. Also, I knew somebody who was a director of student disability services, and we talked via phone. You know, she updated me on the things that I should know, on the things that I should be aware of. So if you want to get into a certain field, find somebody who's in that field. Like I knew somebody personally through an organization that I was a part of. So if you're a part of any organizations, start looking through that directory. You know, reach out to these people. They want to talk to you. She was so gracious with all of the info that she gave me, and those are things that helped me in my now position as a director of student disability services. So don't be afraid to reach out to people. If you really don't know anybody, get on LinkedIn, type in that position that you want, start looking at names and say, hey, I know you don't know me, but I am really interested in learning more about your field. Could we set up a call? Could I take you out to coffee, to lunch, whatever? I would say that is a really, really good practice to utilize. Of course, the resume is a big piece, but it's also, you know, who can you talk to that could get you where you want to be. So if you want to know more about my doctoral journey, be sure to check one of these videos out here or here. Bye.